What's up, you guys? The Profit Pit, episode 5. I got a good one for you guys today. We have 3 guests joining us. We have 2 returning guests. We have undefeated Doug. Sasha Palatnikov is coming in. He's hungry. He's looking to get that first W. He's got a nice new camera set up as well. Wait till you see how nice and clear he looks for you guys. And then we have the debut of Jason from the Lock Talk. You guys are going to get to know him. He really knows his stuff as well. Before I bring them on, I do want to go over the results of last week's episode real quickly, which Mo was victorious. He very slightly profited. He profited 0.06 units, but that was enough to defeat the Stout and Out. So with him getting that W there, he pretty much solidifies himself to come on the show in the future. We'll see whenever it lines up, and he'll get a shot at Doug, or he'll get a shot at one of the big dogs here on the show. So he did profit. We'll give him a little tip of the hat there, and I guess this will give me a second to shout out that I did profit as well. I'm happy to say that I profited about 3.5 units on the card for UFC Vegas 114. So I'm going to say it real quick because you guys know how it is. When the cards are hitting you hard, it's not a good feeling. Luckily, we've been pretty hot. I profited on, I believe now, 6 of the last 7 events. So I want to keep that going. And we're going to jump right into this thing. Let's get it. All right, here we go. Ready to compete. As mentioned, the trio is here. You guys want to say what's up? How's it going out there, guys?
Good.
Not ready, man.
Good. Happy to be back. Got to get on this freaking winning streak that Doug's on. I got to get drink on his secret sauce, honestly.
Welcome back.
Had some time to do some some more research. It's weird, like my pocket doesn't translate to the the profit pit, so now we got to make it correlate a little bit.
Yeah. Well, hey, you've only had a small sample size anyway. I mean, you got plenty of time to flip that around, right? I think, Sasha, what have you been on? Like 2 times? Has it been twice you've competed, or?
I think I'm 0-3 actually. So
0-3. Okay, so this is the 4th time. All right. You know what they always say, right? The 4th time is the charm. I think someone said that once.
Hey, every day is another day. So here we go.
There we go. And Jason, real quick, man, you want to kind of introduce yourself to everyone out there?
No, for sure, man. First of all, my man, MMA Fortune tells the GOAT in the MMA UFC breakdowns for sure, man. I've been a big fan since day one, man. So I'm super appreciative to be up here, especially next to all these guys, man. But I'm from New York City. I used to work on Wall Street, a hedge fund, and now I basically analyze sports for a full-time living. So I'm on Instagram, YouTube. So UFC is my first love. I used to fight when I was a kid. I used to know some of the fighters back from like Ray Longo, the Gracies. I used to train at Tiger Showman when I was a little kid. So this is near and dear to my heart. The first sport I bet on was boxing and MMA for sure. So I'm here, happy to compete in this.
Awesome. Yeah, nicely said there, man. Yep, that's right. I forgot you were over at Tiger Showman, right? Which
I wasn't competing like Sasha or anything. I was just doing this for exercise. But
yeah,
just to be clear. But it definitely helps though. Like having some background in like fighting, in my opinion, helps in this sport versus capping NBA or football, things like that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure, man, for sure. All right, so with that being said, man, we'll jump into the competition. The first fight that we're going to jump into, I do believe, I'm taking a look real quick. I'm jumping into the Shamrock versus Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi. Trying to remember exactly who called this preliminary fight. And you know what? Let me say this real quick. For everyone that's watching, remember, this is how the show works. We're going to go into 3 preliminary fights, which each fight was chosen by one of the guests here. Then we'll do the main card. They have 1 unit to wager for that fight. They could use that 1 unit any way they want. Taking the favorite on the money line, underdogs, over 1.5 rounds, over under 2.5 rounds, a specific method of victory. We try to keep it somewhat simple to that, no parlays or anything, but we will see who profited the most on this card after it takes place this upcoming Saturday. And I really like this card, man. UFC London, I like this card a lot. So who was it that took that Shamrock Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi match?
That was, I picked that one for the prelim, yeah.
Okay, Doug, then you kick it off for us here.
Yeah, pretty closely priced fight. Shamrock got that Paddy Pimblett privilege and got to skip the Contender Series and was able to make his debut. Didn't go his way. He was kind of fed a pretty tough opponent in Evloev. A little bit of an easier test here, in my opinion, in I'm going to call him ACUS, use the acronym there. Obviously, he's had almost like over a 2-year layoff. When he was fighting, I feel like both of these guys' striking is just kind of pretty basic. So that kind of cancels each other's out. I think Akis has the advantage in the wrestling. He's definitely like the better grappler, and will probably, in his first fight back in a while, I think we'll try to get some control time there. Shamrock's pretty durable. He's got good cardio. He's not really a finisher, but I think that he can survive some of these wrestling and takedown attempts that he'll probably face. I think it's probably going to be a very boring fight, but I do like the price on the fight going the distance at -145. I think if you like Shamrock, there is still value on him. It's basically a pick'em is what I saw, like -130, +102 coming back on Shamrock. But my targeted bet is that the fight goes the distance at -145.
Okay, fight to go the distance. We're locked dug in there at -145. And then we'll slide over to Sasha. What are you thinking here, Sasha?
Yeah, no, this one is also, I agree with Doug on that. It's a coin flip for sure. Based on the style, the way you were breaking down El Sawadi, I believe he actually burned me on Contender Series, and that was when I kind of got a taste of his style, which is a pretty forward pressure style that, if it's a very pick 'em fight, it's usually the guy that's putting the pressure and initiating the fight. I'm not entirely impressed with Shamrock's arsenal. He's got some pretty, like, I came up in the Asian scene, so I know he has a lot of pretty easy pocket wins on some submissions that you would never see at this level. So yeah, I'm gonna go with El Sawadi by decision. He's not known as a big finisher, like you said. He's one of those guys that can take a beating, as we saw with Evloev. He's a tough guy. He's hard to finish. I think Shamrock won't go out until the end. I think it'll go to a decision, and I think El Sawadi will incorporate the wrestling and get it done that way.
Okay, so you want to take El Sawadi, and I heard that correct. You're taking him to win via decision?
Yeah, +150.
Okay.
I think I saw.
+150 for El Sawadi to win via decision. I'm just taking a quick peek before we go over to Jason. I just want to kind of see what we're seeing here, and I think that's a pretty slick target there as well, because I have a feeling this fight probably goes the distance as well. And let's see here, El Sawadi to win via decision, if I could catch it here. Otherwise, we'll always come back to it either way, but I'll take your word there. El Sawadi to win via decision should be right here. I see it at I see it as high as +170 on multiple books. On FanDuel right now, it's at +170. So I'll lock you in with that. +170 for El Sawadi to win this fight via decision. All right, Jason, what are you thinking here?
Nah, man, just echoing basically what everyone said here. I'll just say this, man. El Sawadi hasn't fought since 2024, so we don't really know what he's going to be like coming into this fight. It's obviously a big stage. I know people love him, but I haven't seen him fight. Even his strength of the competition. I know Sasha mentioned Shamrock's strength of the competition. I don't think Sawadi's has been that much more impressive, especially given the long layoff. So there's a lot of question marks. For me, I would personally skip it, but for the sake of this, I'll probably just the fight go to decision. That's why I'll go, because I'm not really sure who's going to win. I think Shamrock might have an advantage in the jiu-jitsu. When it comes to standing up, El Sawadi might have an advantage as well. So a lot of question marks. I usually try to stay off things like this, but I'll take to go to decision. I think that's where it'll probably go.
Okay, what did you catch that at? For
I think it was like -140, kind of similar to what Doug said.
Okay, and I'll pull that up real quick. And I'll just kind of echo what you guys were saying. I kind of favor this fight to go to a decision. And that's kind of interesting, right? Because Abdul Karim El Sawadi, he's been finished in all 4 of his losses, but they always come by him getting hurt on the feet, right? Getting KO'd. And I just don't see Shamrock really being that kind of threat there. And then I think Abdul has decent wrestling, right? He has good cardio. He'll push the pace there. And I could see him being kind of the fighter that gets the better of those wrestling exchanges. Shem has some jiu-jitsu, but I could see him being on his back. You pull up some of his tape, and we've seen him there before. So, and you like this fight to go the distance. That was correct, right?
Yep.
Okay, fight to go the distance, which this will be easy to pop up. It should be right at the top. Just want to make sure we lock in on an accurate line here. And fight goes the distance. I'll lock you in at -135, right? I see that all across the board. Fight to go the distance at -135. All right, cool. We got you locked in there. All right, from there, we're going to jump up to the next preliminary bout, which this one, Jason, this is going to be your prelim fight here. Which was that again? I know that was the next one up the board here.
Keita against Nathaniel Wood.
Yeah. Go ahead. We'll stick with you, man. You kick that off first. Nathaniel Wood versus Lucien Keita, who Keita is finally making that UFC debut. Of course, you guys remember what happened, right? He missed weight, and Pitbull refused to accept that fight. As the crafty veteran he is, he wasn't going to go in there with that disadvantage. He wasn't playing that. So what do you see here, Jason?
No, as he should, man. I mean, Keita's definitely extremely dangerous. He has a lot of hype around him. But like I always say, man, for some reason, when some of these guys come from different fight leagues and they step into the UFC, things change. We saw that, and maybe not the last fight card, but the one prior where we saw a few of the guys who had UFC debuts lose their fight or perform very poorly back on March 7th. I think, I'm not saying he's going to experience this, but he definitely has a really tough fight, man. Nathaniel Wood is not an easy fight. He's very well-rounded. He has good stand-up, good grappling. I mean, Nathaniel Wood can beat this guy for sure. He definitely has the talent. He's fought the tip of the top. I mean, he's been one of the tougher guys to fight if you're in this weight class. My pick is going to be the fight does not go the distance, -120. We've seen Nathaniel Wood get cracked almost every single fight. And to his credit, man, he is so goddamn tough. People cannot finish him. But I think if Keita, he's going to hit him, that's for sure. And if his power is really that good and he lives up to the hype, he will knock out Nathaniel Wood. But I think if the other way happens where he can't get the finish, I think Nathaniel Wood can finish him too. So I think both guys have finish upside. And that's why I like does not go the distance -120 or -125.
Okay, fight to end inside the distance. You like that we see a finish in this fight one way or another. Doesn't matter what side it's coming on. And yeah, I see that. I see that at -125. I'm locking you in at -125 that we see a finish there. And then we'll slide over to you, Doug. What do you think here?
Yeah, I think this is definitely has it's fight of the night candidate. I think it's going to be pretty violent. I think like you just said, Nathaniel Wood's a very tough guy. You could make an argument that he won that fight against Jose Delgado. I did watch it back, and I still have Delgado winning that fight, but I wouldn't hate you if you told me otherwise. His chin's unreal. I think it's going to be chaotic at the start, and I think as long as Wood's chin is still there and he's able to survive those chaotic moments, I think that this could drag in, and we might see it get into the third round. I was surprised at the price. I don't think that Keita should be this big of a favorite on the money line, just because he is making his debut, and Wood is the more experienced fighter with a better resume. So I do think that Wood will be able to survive this chaos that Keita is probably going to bring early on, and this fight does start the third round. And I'm going to pay the juice is a little big here, but I am pretty confident that the fight at least starts the third round, even though both guys have finishing potential. And I got that at a price of -175.
-175 for the third round to begin.
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right, that's a cool one there. Okay. Sasha, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those traps, right? Do the lights get to him? Coming to the big show. Nathaniel Wood, he's been there with everyone at the highest level, all over the world as well. I like Nathaniel Wood. He is a smaller 145er coming up to 135. But I think he's crafty enough to not get finished. I think he knows what he's up against, the France versus England rivalry. I think this goes to a decision. And I think I'm even considering to watch the line, maybe even see it live, how the opening couple minutes go, and maybe throwing something on Nathaniel. Because at home in England, the English guys always seem to come out on top, no matter, right? They always try to angle it that way. I'm sure the UFC is not happy with Keita either. So this could be a spoil spot for the debut. So I'd keep my eyes on that, but I like it to go to the distance.
Fight to go the distance. Okay.
Yeah. I think I see it at 105, -105. I see it.
Yeah,
maybe I can get better.
I lock you in at +100. I see it on multiple books as a +100. I even see it as high in some as +104. Little variation there, but yeah, we'll make it simple. Even odds at +100 there for the fight to go the distance. Interesting. All right, and then from there we got one more prelim bout to talk about, which is going to be Sasha. We'll stick with you. That's going to be your prelim bout here, which is. I actually really like this fight, and before you jump into it, I'll just give a quick little background to it. Axel Sola, who is taking on Mason Jones, as Sola was just victorious in his UFC debut. He took out Reese McKee there. He had that third round finish. And, you look at him, he's kind of a younger fighter at just 28, doesn't have an overwhelming amount of pro experience, but he has a very lengthy amateur resume. And I really like what I'm seeing from him, specifically with his striking. And Sasha, I'm curious to hear what you think about his striking, because I know you know that field very well. And I like the way he sets up his kicks. He'll start off low, work up to your head there. And I think he looks to be a pretty dangerous up-and-comer in this division. What do you think here?
Yeah, he's got that style that's unique. That style that if you haven't faced it before, it's very tough to adjust to. But I've read some stuff doing my research, obviously coming into this fight. A lot of people online think Sosa comes from a grappling background, which is surprising to me because he's actually a karate guy. That's like his background. And he's new gen, he's a young guy. He's like new generation MMA fighter, coming in against someone that you can say is a vet in terms of Mason Jones, been around the block, been everywhere. And we always know that cage warriors are, on that fade side. So I think the new generation of Axel could definitely, could put on a show here. I think he's one of those guys that's very hard to get a hold of and also to put hands on if he's not there to be hit. Don't get me wrong, Mason can crack and he could definitely hurt Souza. He does like to fight going backwards. He does put himself a kind of a situation from a perspective of a judging point of view that he could be losing the fight on the back foot, but I just think he's a little bit cleaner, a little bit faster, a little bit smoother with the way he moves. And I feel Mason is, honestly, he's a big 55er, but he's never been someone that I find is slick or move. He's more of a brawler. He comes forward and tries to engage and get you in a dirty fight. So I think Souza's going to not only win the fight by decision, but I think he's going to cover the scorecards. It's a Welsh guy. It's not English. So hopefully it's more of a balance in terms of how the crowds are reacting, and I think Souza will get the decision. I think he'll get it out there with a decision.
So you want to take him to win specifically on the decision instead of the money line?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking a look at that right now for you, and he is the underdog flat out, regardless right now too. I see him right around plus 105 to plus 110. If you want him specifically to win via decision, this is this is obviously going to juice up here, and we're looking at him to win via decision. It's coming up right now, guys. Here we go. To win via decision. That's a unanimous decision. Let's see here. Axel to win. He's at plus 300 for a unanimous decision.
Let's just say decision. I ain't going to mess around with no splits.
Yeah. No, I got you locked in right here at plus 240 for Axel to win via decision. Plus 240 there. And Doug, we'll slide over to you real quick. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think on paper it looks like it might be like a clash of styles. It's a big step up for Sola here. I mean, Mason Jones is no joke. I think he's on a 3-fight win streak. Definitely faced the higher level of competition. Sola's biggest win is over McKee, which doesn't really tell me much about him. I think that, like I think Sasha said, Jones is going to try to make this a little bit dirtier. And same as the last fight we talked about, if Jones is able to survive that early chaos and kind of use his IQ, maybe mix in some takedowns, get some control time, I think this fight also drags and we see it get to the scorecards. I'm not going to really pick a side. It's pretty close, but I am pretty confident in that we do see a decision here. And let me just check the price that I got here. I am seeing it. Fight to go the distance at minus 150.
Yep. We can lock you into that minus 150. I see that as well. All right. We'll lock you in there. Jason, what are you seeing here?
Now, yeah, man, I think this is a tough fight because even though Mason Jones won his last fight, it wasn't really clean. I mean, he arguably could have gotten finished himself. And then Sola, I mean, he definitely shocked a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people had him to beat Reese McKee. He did a lot better than I thought he was going to do. So it's the strength of the competition on both sides is kind of tough for me to price it. I think Mason Jones should be the favorite, but I think it's a coin flip type fight. So, I mean, if I could get some slight plus money on Alex Sola, that's where I would lean. So I like Alex Sola on the money line, but for sure Mason Jones is going to make this dirty. And if you're going to watch this fight, you're going to be at the edge of your seat because I assume Mason Jones will come forward will get hit. He'll throw some shots back, but fights like that always get me at the edge of my seat. But I'd take the coin flip. Give me Alex in this. Oh, Axel, I'm sorry, in this one.
Okay, Axel Sola on the money line, which he is a dog, and it's worth noting too. Since this fight's been announced, since we've seen some line action here, I'm trying to pull up a specific book where we could see it more in a lengthy period because I know Sola. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys can see this kind of in the edge of the screen, but on some of these books that have these lines released very early, like Bet Online, Sola opened up as a plus 210, and he came all the way down to a plus 105. And then on some of these other books that released the odds a little bit later, we still seen him. We've seen action coming in on him, and I think that this is a fight. In my mind, I think this is a fight that could really go either way. There's some variables going on here. Mason Jones has that experience advantage fighting in the UFC for a longer period of time, being a little bit older. But I think that he engages in the brawls a little bit too much. You remember the Jeremy Stevens fight? He landed a lot of damage throughout that one too, but he got hit a couple times by the savvy vet there. And I think that Axel may prove to be a little bit more slicker with his striking. And maybe he sets up some cleaner strikes there to be landed. It's a great fight. I really like that fight there. All right. So we just hit 3 preliminaries, right? I think it's time to go up to the main card. We hit all 3 of them. So we'll jump up to the main card, which the first bout that we have to talk about is going to be the Curtis Campbell versus Danny Silva fight, which Campbell, representing England, 8-0. He had that very dominant performance on Dana White's Contender Series. He looked really good there against Demba Sek. I don't know how much of approving Demba Sek was. Demba Sek was looked at as more as like a raw talent, right? Representing Africa. He has some intangibles with his physique, but I don't think he's that proven. This is a step up in competition in my mind. Danny Silva, I know he spends a lot of time, I believe, with Cub Swanson, I believe it is, right? And he's a tough dude. So I think that I'm curious to see if he gets any takedowns against Silva. He's shown to be pretty tough there, although he hasn't really been tested against any high-level grapplers. And Jason, we'll go over to you. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, man, I think it's a great fight. I mean, obviously, it's a big step up for Campbell, but Danny Silva's no joke either. He's fought some pretty tough guys and performed fairly well. I believe he fought Vallejos and went to a decision with Vallejos, which is very impressive. Shows me he has obviously good defense standing up, decent chin, because I saw him get cracked a few times, but he took it totally fine. I mean, I think Vallejos tried to get some takedowns. He looks like he's, very well-rounded. So I'm not really sure. Like, I've seen Curtis Campbell fight. He obviously has good ground game. He has good stand-up. He seems like he's a great prospect. But for me to pay the price on Curtis Campbell, I think it's too much. I think it's a really close fight, just given the experience gap and what I've seen. I think the best way to play it is I think this fight goes to a decision.
Yeah.
I think probably Campbell will win, but I don't want to pay minus 190. I think now he's even like the minus 210 or something. So I think Curtis Campbell will win a decision. I think Danny Silva is too tough to knock out on the feet. If he gets a takedown and submits him, so be it. But I also don't think Danny Silva is going to finish him either. So give me to the fight goes to decision minus 140.
Okay, so you want the fight to go to a decision?
Yeah, the fight to go the decision. Yeah, goes the distance, yeah.
Okay, fight to go the distance, and you said minus 140. 40.
Correct,
Yep, we'll lock you in there. We'll lock you in on that minus 140. All right. And then, Sasha, we'll go to you.
Yeah, no, I'm not completely sold on Curtis Campbell. Personally, again, just one of those guys coming out of the UK. It's always just got to be one of those things. And as I think Doug mentioned before, Shamrock getting his, his chariot to the UFC without having to go through Contender Series. Campbell got it done, but I think he had a favorable matchup. And again, Danny Silva is no joke, right? He's legit. He's an awkward style. He's got very clean boxing. Comes from a great camp. I might even take a stab at the underdog on this one.
You might.
I'm thinking about laying the underdog on this. I'm happy with my earlier picks, but I'm just not sold. I don't see where, unless Curtis Campbell gets him to the mat and subs him with something which I just personally don't see happening. I think hand-for-hand combat-wise, I think Danny Silva's got the cleaner hands and better defense. Campbell, he mixes it up a little better with his kicks, but he reminds me so much of Paddy, and I'm so unimpressed with Paddy's striking that I think Danny can expose it. And I'm going to go with the underdog with this one.
I'll lock you in at plus 200 if you want him. Yeah, plus 200 on the money line just to win the fight.
I'll take
That's
that.
a great comparison too, because as I was breaking down tape on him, a lot of similarities to Patty. The way he moves on the feet, likes to kick a lot, and he has that same type of movement there. And then Silva has that, that boxing type style, right? Really, he's willing to trade with his hands.
If I'm not mistaken, he's a southpaw too, which just makes things. If you're not used to going with southpaws, it's a whole nother thing you got to deal with, So I'm sure he's going to be getting in the work with southpaws, but if it's not something you're used to, I was super fortunate coming up. I was in a gym filled with southpaws. Like usually it's very uncommon, so I've always been very good with southpaws. But if you haven't, it can be a problem. So I don't know. I'm going to take a stab at that. I think there's something there. I think there's value there.
We got a nice dog call there. There we go. All right, Doug, what do you see here? You gonna call out a dog here? What do we got?
I think all three of us are kind of aligned here on the way we kind of view Curtis Campbell. He's a big favorite here. I think when we're looking at the way these odds have been priced, I think the odds makers are probably factoring in that home field advantage with a lot of these lines, because I don't think it should be as wide as it is. I'm looking at DraftKings right now, and Curtis Campbell's like minus 230. Definitely think that line should be a little bit closer. I mean, Campbell did have an impressive performance at Contender Series. I was fortunate enough to see it live. He was also a minus 500 favorite, so he really just did what he had to do. So we definitely need to see more from him. And Danny Silva's no joke. Like we said, he went the distance with Kevin Vazquez, and we've seen what Kevin's been doing to people lately. So I think, Danny's more of a point fighter. He's going to be more patient, where Curtis Campbell does have that Patty style, where his defense is sometimes blocking punches with his face. So I think, as long as Danny's able to weather that early chaos, like a lot of these fights we're seeing, I see this one getting to the scorecards. I'm not going to pick a side, because I do respect the odds makers viewing Campbell as the favorite, but I do see this also going to the cards. I believe you also had the same pick there, and at minus 145-ish I saw it at. So
for a fight to go the distance. Okay.
Yes,
we'll lock you in on that too. Yeah, and when I look at that fight, what kind of intrigues me too is you take a look at Silva's resume. We haven't really seen him tested against a high-level grappler, right? You think about like Kevin Vazquez, Lucas Almeida, Joshua Culibao, Angel Pacheco. Those are the fights that we've seen him with under the UFC banner. Really, all those fighters like to stand and trade. But he looks the part. I could definitely see him going out there and shrugging off takedowns and then using his striking. But I'm curious to see how the unorthodox type of grappling that Campbell brings to the table goes against him. Because Campbell, he's weird. He'll wrap you up and push you up against the cage, and he seems to be very strong. But then you also you take that for what you will as far as the level of competition that he's in there against. But he has this sticky type of grappling style. I'm interested to see how that goes. So
one funny note on that, I think you mentioned that Silva works with Cub Swanson, and after
very wrestling heavy group. I've been around them in Southern California. Very wrestle heavy group. That's why I'm very confident in that he's going to be getting in the right work. As we know, UK wrestling is non-existent.
Right. What's funny about that is I was there when Kevin finished Giga Chikadze, and everybody thought it was weird that Kevin called out Cub Swanson, and he's like, every time I fight someone, Cub Swanson's in the corner. So, but obviously Kevin has probably moved past fighting Cub Swanson at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, cool. We wrap that one up, and then we jump up the card, and now we're looking at what do we got here? As we go from that, we jump up to this one's interesting, huh? Roman Dolidze takes on CLD Christian Leroy Duncan. CLD, I was so high on him when he first came into the UFC, and honestly, after he took, I think it was the loss to Armin Petrosian, if I remember correctly, I kind of jumped ship a little bit as far as the ceiling that he looked to have. I kind of pumped the brakes on him a little bit, and then all of a sudden, recently, specifically with the performance that he had against Marco Tulio, I'm right back on ship, man. That fight he had against Tulio, he seemed to be a completely different fighter. Just like the aggressiveness and the confidence that he brought to that fight, it's like as soon as that bell rung, he knew that he was the man in charge there. That was very impressive to me. And now he has Roman Dolidze, who I believe was not too long ago ranked in the middleweight division and the light heavyweight division, but getting up there in age a little bit. I guess we'll stick with you, Doug, right? You just finished the last one. We'll stick with you, Doug. What do you think here?
Yeah, I think this kind of has shades of last week's main event, where it's that vet that is probably on their way out of the UFC that they're putting up against CLD here. CLD is obviously not as young as Vigeo's, a little older, a little more experienced, but the UFC definitely thinks a lot of him, and he is coming off of that vicious knockout in his last performance. So, yeah, I think I think that CLD is the biggest favorite on this card. If not, no, I'm sorry, Mario Pinto is. But yeah, I don't see much of a path here for Roman Dolidze to win. We saw what Fluffy Hernandez did to him. I just think it's a young man's game, and the athleticism of CLD is probably just going to lead him to a victory here. When I was looking at the market, Roman is a tough guy. I don't know if he's ever been knocked out before. I don't
believe he has. No, he's only been subbed one time. That was the Anthony Fluffy Hernandez bout that just happened.
Right.
Never been finished before that.
Fluffy just dragged him across the octagon. I've never really seen anything. That was insane. But yeah, I think that Roman will be able to weather the storm. And so I am the targeted bet that I picked here. Let me just pull it up to make sure that I have the right price. I have CLD winning in round 3 or via decision at -125, just because even though Roman's never been knocked out before, I think CLD is a little bit different level than some of the competition he's faced lately, and there is finishing potential there, especially after we saw what CLD did his last time out. So CLD to win in round 3 or via decision, and I got that at DraftKings at -125.
Okay. And then, Sasha, we'll go over to you. What do you think about this bout here?
Yeah, I've actually spent lots and lots of rounds with Dolidze. Terrible striker, god-awful striking. And, he's a guy that needs to take you down and lay on top of you if he wants to win the fight. He's got no chance standing with CLD. And I mean, come on, what Fluffy did to him, I don't care who you are, it's going to do something to your ego. Is he going there to pick up a paycheck? Most likely, and I like CLD by finish. I think he'll get him out of there. I think he's too dangerous. That Tulio fight was a very serious fight. Tulio, I think, is still a future contender in the division. But CLD is just so dynamic, and same thing when he first came to the UFC, one of those guys you also have to be careful with because of the level coming out of the UK. But when you see his abilities and being able to come back from a loss like he had, and now just look like, he looks kind of like a bigger, more dangerous MVP, just having a very difficult style to deal with. You don't know if something spinning's coming, an elbow, he can grapple. He's in a good camp. So I think the momentum is there. As Doug mentioned before, I think Dolidze is on his way out. And I think just being at home in London, main card, I think he goes and he gets the finish.
Okay. So you want him to win inside the distance? Is that what you're looking at there?
I mean, whatever the numbers say, I think I saw him at like +130 to by KO.
Okay. +130 to get the KO. I'm peeking at that as well.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to sub him. I mean, shit, I could eat my words, but I think it's going to all come down to I think he's going to try to put on a highlight. I can see him walking into something dangerous and it just being one of those kind of awkward finishes, just something kind of lulling, and then all of a sudden a big explosive movement and it comes to an end. So that's what I'm fantasizing about happening on the weekend. So we'll go with that one.
All right. And so how about this right here? So we see CLD to win via TKO/KO. It opened up at +140, so we've seen a little bit of action coming in on it, but still available on FanDuel at +135. Lock you in with that?
Yes,
all right,
sir.
Here we go. We got some plus action called out there as we slide over to Jason. What are you seeing?
Yeah, man, not too much different. I mean, I think CLD is very athletic. He has decent takedown defense. So, like Sasha said, if he cannot take CLD down, I think he's getting knocked out. I mean, I think the way he fights on his feet, he's easily hit. He doesn't have the best defense in the world. He usually beats guys because he's more physical than them, right? And COD is definitely, he looks, I mean, it seems from his past fights and just looking at him that he's a very physical, athletic guy. So I don't think Delite is going to easily overpower him with his wrestling. So I like COD by knockout. Same thing as what Sasha said.
Okay, we'll lock you in on that too. And yeah, I mean, a big narrative in that match is the fact that as everything that CLD has done this far, he's still, I think he just recently turned 30. And I think he's really getting comfortable inside the octagon now. Well, Delize's 37 and a half, and he's kind of been there, right? I mean, he's been where he made it up to. Came up a little bit short as far as making a run at the title or anything like that. He's had some nice numbers next to his name, but these fighters are at completely different points in their careers. That's the way I'm looking at this fight for sure there. So, all right, from there, we will jump up to, we got Iwo Baranowski, who is one of the biggest favorites on the card, taking on Austin Lane. How about your boy Austin Lane, who has been finished in every single one of his losses, in 7 losses? And you got to tip your hat to him a little bit, though, because if you guys remember when he faced off against the Greg Hardy, right? The former NFL player there, the Dallas Cowboy. He got knocked out on that episode of Dana White's Contender Series, and he never, he didn't really cower or shy away from the sport. He stuck with it. I think he even got knocked out again on the regional scene. He still stuck with it, got some W's, and he worked his way into a couple of UFC fights. And I do believe once upon a time he was victorious against a fighter that was supposed to be the boogeyman of the division to come in Robelis de Spain. And he went out there and pulled off the Khabib against him. But, you know, but now he's looking at this dude, Baranowski, who has a judo background. And you know what's funny? When Baranowski had his fight on Dana White's Contender Series, me and Sasha were actually chatting it up right going into that fight where he was taking on Muhammad Ali, who is still a fighter that you gotta keep an eye on. He's a big
the Dana
prospect.
White Contender Series. That's right.
Yep. And we said, hey, let's throw some action here on the dog. I remember we threw a little action there on the dog, and he came through.
That dialogue that we had, I was like, bro, I'm telling you, the jiu-jitsu guy got no wrestling, and he's a judo guy. Like those guys can always crack, you know. And I'm like, watch, and then, you know, you guys don't know what happens. So it was just one of those. It's like sometimes, you know, when MMA math like translates, it's beautiful, you know. And when it's like you have a certain style and you know what's gonna kind of come to fruition based on what you see, nothing better, you know. And that was like a perfect example. Yeah.
Sasha, we'll go to you. What do you think about this one then? You think Lane is going to pull off the upset here?
I don't, man. I've actually boxed with Austin here in Vegas. You know, very athletic, big, strong guy, of course, you know, former NFL athlete, one of the best athletes, you know, the world can produce, you know, in that regard. But when it comes to fighting, I don't see that killer instinct in him. He's a very nice guy, you know, he fights for his family, all, you know, his kid and all that, but I don't know, man. This Polish kid can crack, bro, and he's just, you know, he's made for it, you know, and that's the difference. Iwo is a martial artist who knows how to fight, and Austin's an athlete who's trying to fight. So I see a big difference there, and you know, I don't see a ton of value on this line. I mean, I you know, I see minus 225 for the KO. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Excuse me. Where are we?
And I'm pulling it up with you right now, too. I'm looking at some available
That's
lines.
probably right. The first round KO is like extremely juiced.
Oh yeah, it is minus 225. I was looking at the Tricoli fight by accident. Yeah, the Iwo at minus 225 by KO. Yeah, I think that's pretty much I feel like it's a guarantee. I think he's gonna get Austin out of there. Maybe Austin survives a little bit. Maybe it goes a little bit past, maybe even get out of the round. But you see how he fights. You know, he's an absolute maniac, and he's got a chin on him. You know, him and Ebo, that last fight as well. You know, I've been around Ebo too, and you know, I get that insight as you know, being able to be around these fighters. So yeah, I think he gets it done. He's young, he's up and coming, and I don't think anyone expected him to do what he's done so far. So I think he keeps the ball rolling. His neck of the woods. He's in Europe. He doesn't have to go through that big flight that Austin had to go through. So yeah, I think he gets it done by KO.
Okay. And I see him available on FanDuel to get that KO. I see it at minus 195. So I'm
I'll take
locking with
that.
that minus 195.
Yeah, I'll
And
take
you know,
that.
and how about that Ibo Aslan fight? That was crazy. I was in the supermarket. I think that was the first fight of that event. I forget. I think it was a bigger event, and I was running
Yeah.
some errands real quick, and I'm watching that, you know, in the supermarket. I had some action on him, so I was going crazy. I had the shopping cart, you know, shaking as he came back and got that KO. Man, that was wild. And Jason, what do you liking here with the big favorite?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna bet straight up, there's not much to like. I mean, he's insane favorite, so there's not a lot of value. So you have to bet some type of prop. I'll say this, man. I think like obviously Austin has a huge size advantage. I think he's like 5 inches in height, 8 inches in reach. So I mean, Ewo's gonna have no matter what level you're gonna consider Austin Lane at, he's gonna have a initially a difficult time dealing with the range. But he probably does that with almost every guy he fights in the heavyweight division. He's not the tallest guy. With that being said, I mean, he's fought not the best competition in the world in the UFC, right? I mean, I don't really put his last fight in like high regard that he knocked. I forget his name. He had the knock on. He got cracked himself. I mean, Austin Lane could maybe make it a little bit difficult in the beginning. I think Ewo at the end will get the knockout and get the finish. But for me to play the value, I think he's gonna have maybe a little bit of initial tough time in the first round with the range, and then the second round when Austin Lane slows down, he'll be able to stalk his prey and get a knockout. So I got Ewo by knockout in the second round at plus 600. That's the only way I want to play. If not, I'd rather just skip the fight in terms of betting.
Okay, so plus 600.
One thing. This is actually his debut at 205 for Austin Lane. He's coming down to 205.
Great point.
So there's a weight cut involved. I just think, I mean, I agree. I think he does get the finish, but I just think the speed, the speed is just going to be there. Austin, that was one thing I noticed even as a heavyweight moving around with him. He wasn't particularly a quick heavyweight. So when you start to come down in weight, don't get me wrong, he will have the size advantage, but I think someone like I just think he's just more well-rounded, has more weapons to win the fight.
Yeah, for sure. I think Ewo's going to win. I'm just trying to play some value because if any way I play, it's like minus 200, minus 300. So,
100%.
Hey, if he gets past the first round, I think I like my shot for Ewo to get a knockout.
I mean, I saw the decision go. I think there's plus 1,200. It's not even a bad option to stick that if you're playing with some late over money, because hey, we've seen the big boys always don't fucking deliver when they're always on a knockout streak. So we've seen Ngannou and freaking Derek Lewis. Look what happened there. So you never know. Austin could be running away. Ewo could be having trouble finding range. It could go to a decision. So plus 1,200 is insane not to take a stab at too, if you want to look for value.
And Jason, so you like that second round KO at plus 600? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I like.
Okay, we'll lock you in there. And Doug, what are you seeing here?
Yeah, I'm pretty aligned with both these guys. I think he was just a different level. I would, like Sasha said, Austin's a very nice guy. I've had the chance to talk to him. This kind of he's moving down to 205. He wasn't a UFC caliber fighter at heavyweight, and then you're going to move down. Like you said, there's a weight cut involved. I don't know what's going on. It reeks of desperation to me, kind of. He's 1-4 in the UFC. A lot of these guys need to fight for their paycheck, so mad respect for him to even step in the cage, especially against a guy like Ewo. But I mean, I don't see any way that this makes it out of the first round if Ewo goes in there and does what he's supposed to do. There's not a lot of value on him, obviously, but to bet the money line. But I did find you can bet him to win in the first round and pay a little bit of juice at minus 150. I think this ends pretty quickly, unless, I forget who said it, but Ewo, when he fought Evo, he did get cracked once or twice really bad. So hopefully he fixes some of those defensive holes and just goes out there and does what he's supposed to do and finish this guy in the first round.
And I see that at an average. I see a couple books. 3 books have it. I see on the average line at minus 175 for the fight to end in round 1. Does that sound good to you, Doug?
I see it here on DraftKings at minus 150.
Minus 150. Okay, locked in.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's not showing here, but yeah, no, we'll lock
to
in at
win
minus
to
150.
win in the first round at minus 150. Yep.
Win in the first round. We got you there. And
he's well rounded too. I mean, I don't think he'll sub him, but because of that size advantage, I don't think it'd be smart to get this fight to the ground, but he does have a couple subs too, so he should just go out there and walk right through Austin Lane.
That's an interesting point that you bring up, because unless Baranowski just goes out there and KOs him quickly, and we don't even get to see the fight play out that long. What I'm curious to see is if we start to see Baranowski start to use some of those judo skills. Maybe he goes down to the mat. Lane is coming off of a submission loss, if I remember correctly. Here,
Yep.
So, and that was a submission loss to Petrino. We just saw him on the back of Asplund, and he didn't really look
up. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He had that back, and it didn't look like he was too much of a threat there. I don't believe Petrino. Let's see here real quick. Has he ever even had a submission? But prior to pulling off that sub, and I wonder if Baranowski goes out there and maybe shows some flashes or shows us some new wrinkles to his game. Just a thought, but realistically, you get a nice price there. But realistically,
if you're using your brain, which your coaches are hopefully doing, they'll say, "Look, this guy's obviously not well versed on the ground. He's come into this sport way later on. Let's avoid damage. Let's go out there and get a quick submission and go home." That's what any logical coach would say to their fighter. But 98% of fighters aren't logical. So we could very well see Austin Lane crack him hard enough and sleep him. Like, he puts himself in those situations. And for me, like, as a coach, I would be scared for my fighter if he wasn't going on the game plan, because it just puts themselves, at risk always.
And I kind of feel like that's going to be what we see here, too. I don't know. My gut's telling me that Baranowski is one of those guys that's just going to go out there and look to drop hammers. I don't know. I feel like that's how the fight plays out. I think he gets that early KO. I think he just looks to you saw him in that last bout. He's a warrior.
He's motivated, man, and you're getting those extra 25K bonuses. You have to factor in a lot of these people are trying to get finished. All these fighters are trying to get the finish. They don't want to be boring. They know that now. I'm pretty sure every time before the fighters go out there, they're saying, "Look, you're on Paramount. You're entertainers. Don't go out there and hold on to his legs for 3 rounds and get a boring decision. We'll get you out. You could be 7-1 in the UFC. We'll get you out. We don't care." So Martin Boudet. So it's just, it doesn't matter. Now it's an entertainment company. You guys are seeing that transition. It's not a sport anymore. It's entertainment. So if guys are going out there and trying to finish, it's going to get you on the bigger cards. You're going to get paid more. So that's all the fighters need to know that. And then when they have that, they're going to go and try and finish people. So I expect that too. I expect the mindset to be, he's the next Polish Hammer, man. You got to go out there and put it on his back. There's not really any Polacks coming up. So I think he's that guy.
Yeah, he's the next Polish power, right? And to circle back to that Dana White's Contender Series bout, that dude Muhammad Ali, he's skilled, but he was very physically intimidating, like imposing when you take a look at the physique. And the way that Iwo just went out there and like knew he was in charge of that fight, the way he pressed and just threw that I think it was a right hand he cracked him with. It was very accurate.
What I like about Iwo is he's got a ton of amateur experience. Like, he's been in the cage with a ton of experience, and that's everything in the fight game. Like, I always like to bet the fighter that has double the amount as the prospect, because it's just a comfort thing. It's just, you're so used to your surroundings. And Iwo, you can tell when he went into that fight, he was hyped. Like, you could tell his energy was like excitement, because he knew this guy was a green ass MMA fighter. These BJJ, look at Buchecha, bro. That was the most offensive thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, you know what I mean? These BJJs don't translate how people think they're going to translate. Oh, once I get a hold of them and stuff, everyone knows what's coming. You know what I mean? Like, you can go on YouTube and learn how to defend a fucking rear naked. It's not rocket science anymore. So these BJJ guys are always at a disadvantage, and that's how you got to bet it. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I would say, like, a little and more specifically and men's mixed martial arts too, though, because I think in women's mixed martial arts, how about that one? Her name's slipping my mind, man, but she's been looking terror in there. Bea Mesquita.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
yeah.
I love the way that she goes down to the mat and looks to drop damage down there.
That's the way you're supposed to do it. Like, why doesn't Almeida fight that way? He could literally have people's backs almost breaking full mount and just raining shots. Like, he's built that way, but he literally fights like he's fighting for survival to hold a leg. It's weird,
Yeah, you see
use
a
your
little bit more of
jiu-jitsu
that
to
in men.
just disable people, But yeah, that Bea chick, I think she's a future champ in the making too.
She could be.
When I was at UFC BJJ last week, and I was talking to a lot of these BJJ guys, I was asking, like, who's the greatest woman of all time, and a lot of them said Bia Mosquito already, like
Wow.
that she is the greatest women's jiu-jitsu player of all time, and which is crazy to think about. But
I remember when I was coming up like as an amateur and I was following jiu-jitsu like crazy, she was killing everything. Like there was no one that could even challenge her. You know, like she was, and then it's like to see her now doing her thing in MMA or like, and she's around the right people, right? She's been in South Florida with ATT. Like it's like the best potential to develop into a world champion you could possibly get. So yeah, I don't see how. I think she's gonna get fast tracked for sure.
Yeah, I could see that. I had a prop on her for her to win that fight via KO/TKO. I got it at crazy odds because when you think back to the fight that she had before that, who it was against a very low level fighter. I forget her name too. The Russian girl with the short hair.
The Ronda Rousey wannabe, that
The
one.
Russian Ronda, yeah.
Yeah,
And if you remember that
that
fight,
one.
she was
Yeah.
just like dismantling her down on the mat. You saw that the ground and pound was ferocious. So I saw that we could have, there was an avenue for that. And she kind of showed that again, but that sub just opened up for her.
Yeah, it was too easy not to take it. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. But all right, from there, we'll jump up this card. And this is an interesting matchup, right? You got MVP Michael Venom Page, who's been moving around weight classes a little bit. He's facing off, I believe, against Sam Patterson here, Sam Patterson is a former, or obviously not current going into this fight, but I know that they've gotten some work, or I believe they've gotten some work in together. Sam Patterson, not too long ago, I was kind of out on him. I didn't think he was much to be reckoned with when he went in there and got KO'd against, he took that tough L against Yanal Ashmos, right? He got knocked out in the first round. I pumped the brakes on him, and then since then, he's looking really impressive, and specifically with the striking too. He goes out there, he knocks out Danny Barlow. He follows it up with the KO over Trey Waters to show that it wasn't really a fluke. He's long for the division, and he seems to have some real momentum behind him. And this is a huge opportunity. If he goes out here and defeats MVP, he takes all that hype and momentum that MVP had going into this fight, which he's been on fire since joining the UFC. The only loss he had was a really close fight against Ian Gary. And unfortunately, he had his back took in there, and that was a close bout there. So people that understand what's going on, people know that MVP, even though he's up there in age, there's a lot to gain with a victory here for Sam Patterson. And Jason, what are you thinking about this fight here? What are you seeing?
Yeah, no, initially when I saw this fight, I was like, wow, like the odds are crazy. I can't believe, MVP's at this price, given, his history, his background, the quality of the fighters he's been fighting. Look, he only lost to Ian Gary, and Ian Gary beat Carlos Prates. I mean, he almost beat, I guess he lost to Shavkat, but he gave Shavkat probably his toughest fight in the UFC.
On short notice, right? On short notice, right? Yeah.
So, the thing is, I think Sam Patterson's style could be difficult for MVP, just given the fact that, people consider him like a stand-up fighter, but he's really a grappler. He can... The way he's going to beat MVP is if he gets takedowns and can get a submission or control him, just like Ian Gary did. The thing is, I don't know if he has the stand-up to give Michael Venom Page enough problems because he just goes there straight up. He's going to get tagged. And I think MVP can get a finisher. But at the same time, I also think if Sam Patterson can use his dirty boxing, get a tie-up, and take him down, we could see a submission or even a knockout himself if he can bring him to the floor. Because I do think he's more physical than MVP. So my bet for this fight will be under 2.5 rounds at -120, because I think both guys can get a finish. And I think Sam Patterson is going to try to move in range. MVP is going to use his distance, his skill set. He can catch Sam Patterson, and if not, and it goes to the floor, I think Sam Patterson can get a finish too.
Okay, so under 2.5 rounds at you said -125 or -120?
-120, but yeah, -120, -125.
Okay, we'll lock in a -120 there on the under 2.5 rounds, and you got a couple paths to capitalize there. Sasha, you want to take this one now?
Sure. Yeah. Interesting fight for sure. I agree with the rundown there. Michael Page. It's not Apex, so that's good. It's a bigger cage, more movement. Michael Page, very tricky puzzle. Very, very, very tricky puzzle to solve. And I think it's going to be a boring fight, and I think it's going to go to a decision. Sure, Michael could crack Sam. He could definitely finish Sam just based on the experience, based on the level he's fought at, based on his, everything that he's done, the level he's fought. But, I don't see Sam's... I think if Page maybe gets caught throwing a kick and there's some kind of scramble where Patterson ends up on top. That's very, possible. But, I just think he's too crafty. I don't think Patterson is at that top 15 level just yet. Um, I think this might be a bit of a styling. Maybe we'll see a lot of showboating in the cage. MVP doing what he does, and I think this is a step up for MVP to kind of say, "Look, I'm in the welterweight division now. Ian Gary barely beat me, and now he's knocking on the door for a title shot. Let's fast track me there." So I'm gonna go with Michael Page to win by decision plus 200.
Okay. MVP to win via decision at plus 200. So you say he doesn't find that KO. Okay. All right, Doug.
Yeah, I agree with Sasha. I don't think this is going to be like a fight of the night or anything, but I do think it's going to be pretty high level. I kind of blame some of the matchmaking for MVP. Like, he's obviously, his only loss is to Ian, but he hasn't. I don't think they've matched him against guys that he has that high finishing potential against. And I think that's why he's had a hard time finding fights at 170. Whenever I talk to him, he says, "I want to be active. I want to be active," and he just can't find fights. He thinks a part of that is the fact that when he made his UFC debut, he didn't go out there and get some of these finishes that he's known for, which makes sense. Like Sasha said, it's now a finisher. It's a finisher's game. I do think he's the rightful favorite here. I think he is 38, but he hasn't taken a whole lot of damage just because of his IQ in the cage. He's able to stay at range. I think he's only been knocked out once. So I like the MVP side here. I think he'll be. It's pretty close, but I think when you look at this fight, you look at who's able to dictate where the fight's going to go, and I think with that bigger octagon and the range that MVP has, he'll be the one that will be able to dictate where the fight takes place. He's a point fighter, obviously. I think there is a finishing upside if this fight gets into the third round and Patterson feels like his back's up against the wall and he lunges in there. You don't want to be lunging in against a guy like MVP because he can clip you. So I had a similar bet. It's a plus money. MVP round 3 or decision at plus 145. But I do like the MVP side here, and I think he's the rightful favorite.
Yeah, I agree. I have him as the rightful favorite for sure. I kind of like him here. I know Sam Patterson's been looking good as of recently, but this is a big step up in competition. Patterson recently in there with fighters like Trey Waters, Danny Barlow. I would say that Barlow, he hasn't really lived up to some of that initial hype that he had coming in from Dana White's Contender Series. A real raw product, a solid athlete, but I'm not super high in what I'm seeing from him as of recently. Kiefer Crosby, a fighter that has some boxing skills, but a little bit limited. Johan Lennes hasn't really panned out. So you're looking at a very different type of strength of schedule. And Doug, to circle back to the one loss or the one KO loss that MVP had, of course, it was that Douglas Lima KO loss where he got his
half kick to
from under him.
uppercut.
Yeah, that was nasty. Yeah. So we've seen both of these men KO'd quite a few times here, right? In Patterson and MVP. So we'll see if someone can get that KO. All right, all three of you guys hit this one up, right? We got all of you guys there, right? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, now we'll bump up to the co-main event, right? How about this? In just his second UFC fight, right? His second UFC fight, Luke Riley gets a co-main event spot, and he gets a very entertaining partner in Michael Aswell. He's a little bit under the radar, but Aswell had one of the better fights that we've ever seen on Dana White's Contender Series. It was an absolute war. In fact, it was against a common opponent and that Riley has had. Riley's last victory was against that man as well. He went out there and knocked out Bogdan Grad, which shout out to Bogdan Grad, man. He's a good dude. I talked to him a bit. And Luke Riley, he has this fighting style, man, where it's like he looks to eventually catch you. He picks it up as the fight goes on, and eventually he typically finds that KO, right? You take a look at the track record. He gets those KOs. And who wants to kick this one off? Is anyone chomping at the bit to jump into this match here? Who wants this?
I can start off.
Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
No, look, I think this fight it's tough to call. I mean, Luke Riley's the favorite just given his background, his name. He's from England. I believe he trains in the same camp as Paddy Pimblett. I mean, that's the only, in my opinion, the reason why he's even the co-main event. he had a tailor-made fight for him, in my opinion, against Bogdan Grad. Bogdan Grad's primarily, he needs to take you down. He leaves his chin up in the air. He got the knockout. He got taken down. Credit to Luke Riley. He survived, did very well, got into the second round, and got the finish. Exactly what, I thought was going to happen. But Marco Aswell's not the same fighter. He can stand up. He can bang. I think this is a very even fight to a certain extent. I think Luke Riley, he has a lot of hype behind him. He comes from, I think, the Cage Wars, just like Paddy Pimblett. I believe he was very touted fighter over there. So we'll see how he does in his second fight against a guy who, in many aspects, in my opinion, has pretty good experience in the UFC, especially in his last fight. So I think I still, however, though, think that Luke Riley will win. I don't think he's going to get a knockout. I think he's going to win by decision. So give me Luke Riley by points or decision plus 130.
Okay. We'll lock you in there, and we'll go over to Sasha. What do you see here?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Aswell's a tough guy. It could be a really close fight. It could be even one of those kind of fights where everyone's like, "Oh, that's bullshit decision," because he's in the UK. But I like the plus money with Luke Riley decision. I don't think he finishes him. I think it'll be I think it'll be a good fight. I mean, it doesn't deserve the co-main. There's definitely, I'm surprised they wouldn't give love to Nathaniel Wood. Someone like that in a spot like that. But we don't do the matchmaking, and it's a strange one. But you can see they're trying to push him. So if Aswell doesn't get him out of there, then I'm liking the cards and the W going to Riley.
What target you looking at there as far as betting?
Yeah, I'm gonna go the same. I'm gonna go decision. Same? Yeah, Luke Riley.
Okay, but do you want that because Jason, you had a little bit of a teaser to your play, right? Did you?
No, it's by decision or points, so it's plus 130. So by decision or points.
By decision or points?
Yeah, usually it's the same thing.
Same thing. Okay, yeah. So win via decision, essentially, no?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, on the scorecards. Okay, so we'll lock you guys both in on that same exact target there, and then we'll go over to Doug.
Oh, on me?
Yeah, for the co-main, Luke Riley and Michael Aswell. No, you're good.
Yeah. This kid Luke Riley's really stepped in shit in his fighting career. Seems like he's had some good luck on his side. He was supposed to fight Kevin Vallejos in the Contender Series. He had visa issues, had to pull out. So I think that, I don't know if that was, perfect timing, a little bit of good luck. Might have derailed his rise here. Like Jason said, he got a tailor-made opponent for the UFC in the UFC Contender Series, and now he's gonna come out as a co-main event. Like, I don't know why they hate MVP. That could be the co-main event.
Exactly.
It's great. They really like this kid and really don't like MVP for some reason. But like I said, he's had a lot of luck on his side. He comes from Paddy's camp, so obviously the UFC is going to be behind him. He's very fast, very explosive, as well as a super tough kid. Taking a lot of damage, though. He likes to walk through the fire and make it dirty. I think that he survived a lot of this fire, but I think it probably comes to an end, and I'm actually going to go the other way on this. I think that this could get into the over 2.5 round territory, possibly, but I like Riley to find a finish here eventually. So I have this fight not going the distance, pretty much at even money. I found it at plus 105 on FanDuel.
Plus 105 for the fight to end inside the distance.
Yeah, okay. I think, and Aswell could find a finish there at the end too. If Luke's gas tank empties out and does something stupid. So yeah, I like getting even money. I like this fight not to go the distance. I guess I'm going contrarian here, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, too, Aswell is just 25 years old, and you take a look at some of his more recent fights, he didn't get the decision against Bogdan Grad. I was happy to see that. I was rooting for Grad there. I thought it was a very close fight. It could have went either way. I thought that he showed a lot in that fight. He showed a lot offensively. He was landing a lot, but it was one of those fights where he also showed that he can be tagged because he ate a lot of damage, too. The Balaji Oki fight, I do believe he took that on short notice, and he went up a weight class, too. I think Oki was a weight class up, if I remember correctly. And that was a fight where he had some moments early on. I think he kind of slowed down a bit. And in between that, he had a victory over Dorian Ramos on the regional scene, and then he had that first-round KO in his last bout against Lucas Almeida. And at just 25 years old, he's coming in with some momentum behind him. He has some hands, so I
But
like that fight a lot.
remember the Almeida fight. That was, if you guys got wind of that with the broken hand from
That's
Almeida
right.
coming in. I
That's
jumped
right.
all over that with as well. And then he didn't throw that hand the whole fight. It was the most bizarre thing ever. And that was collecting a paycheck. And then he just fought recently, right? Didn't we fade him recently? If I'm not
Almeida.
mistaken. Yeah.
After that, so Almeida went from that
Yeah.
loss, and then he went into no, that was his last loss. Before that, he had the
Okay.
L against Danny Silva, who we were just talking about before that.
Got you.
But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's had a little bit of a tough streak there. So, but yeah, no, that's a good one. And one thing I'll say too, and if you're backing if you're backing Luke Riley, you watch his film, he definitely has a track record of starting off a little slow, and then he kind of relies on getting that momentum as the fight goes on, and that's dangerous too, right? Because if you have a little bit of a slow start and then you don't find that KO, you could be down maybe 2 rounds. But the biggest narrative with this fight, I want to say, is the fact that as both these fighters are trading on the feet, I think Riley's going to have a major advantage as far as having the crowd behind him. And he lands power strikes. So even if he's getting touched up a bit, when he lands a couple of those power strikes in the mix of those exchanges, I just think that the judges are going to lean his way heavily. If they go to the judges' scorecards and we don't see a KO, that's something to take note of. But that's a good fight there. And from that, we'll jump up to the main event, which I forget. I don't know. Maybe we briefly brushed upon this when we kicked the video off. But you got Movsar Evloev taking on Lerone Murphy. Both fighters still remain undefeated. It's pretty ridiculous when you think about their combined resumes. They still have not got that title shot. Is the winner, I want to ask all three of you guys real quickly before we even jump into the bets, is the winner pretty much guaranteed a title shot? What were you guys' thoughts on this?
Has to be.
Has to be, right?
I think
so.
The only other fighters that you could really throw into the mix, and it wouldn't make sense. I mean, you have Kevin Vallejos, who had a ridiculous victory over Josh Emmett, but you still would think that he needs another big victory.
He needs one more in the top
at least,
5.
right? Yeah. He needs that. Besides that, I mean, a lot of people want to see the Diego Lopez versus Volkanovski trilogy.
I don't want to see him fight for a title until Volk's out of the game. Like, you know.
Yeah, obviously joking. But then Jean Silva, obviously also.
I would like to see Vallejos, John Silva too.
Yep.
And then the winner of this fights Volk.
I think it's going to depend on how impressive either guy wins this fight. Like, if it's not that impressive, like let's say, for example, it's a really boring fight, and then John Silva gets on a card very, very soon and has an incredible knockout. I don't know. They might give it to John Silva because, like Sasha said, it's an entertainment business now, right? So if this fight's not that entertaining, and they might be like, hey, we're going to push this off into another one, and then they'll give it to John. So I think the winner should get the next title fight, but, this business doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. I would not be shocked at all if the favorite, Movsar, goes out here, pulls off a boring decision, and the UFC passes him up once again and just literally just sticks it to him. And how about this name here? It's kind of a little bit of an unorthodox name that's coming out of left field. But remember, Steve Garcia is fighting on that huge event, the White House event, and he's on quite a winning streak. And he goes out there, and you talk about the UFC wanting to see KOs delivered. That fighter, Steve Garcia, goes out there and he gets KO after KO. Imagine if he has a ridiculous highlight reel KO on the White House card, and then Movsar has an absolute snooze fest victory. Imagine the UFC just sticks it to him. I don't know if that they'll go that far with it, but we know that they are not a fan of fighters going out there and winning boring decisions. They're just not a fan of it. So
Well, any chance that they can prop up an American star for a title, they will. And if Steve Garcia can get through his next fight and do it with a finish, there's no reason why. We've seen it. We've seen it almost every other month. There's some kind of controversial decision on who should get a title fight, and then all of a sudden a highlight reel finish gets you. I mean, we all thought Murphy should have already fought for the title. Lopez should have never had that fight. I don't think any fan, except for maybe a Mexican fan of Lopez, would have wanted that fight for him. Everyone else was like, come on. Murphy was set up to lose that fight to Aaron Pico, and they wanted to propel Aaron Pico, right there to get a title shot. So, in my opinion, it's not always fair. Like you said, it's not how it's always going to work out. But yeah, I mean, no one wants to watch wrestling for 5 rounds. Like, nobody wants to see it. Look what happened with Charles. Like, people weren't happy about that. you know,
Yeah.
and you know they don't want to see the same thing now on a London card. So
And if
hopefully
Garcia,
most.
real quick, I'll
No,
just say if Garcia were to win that fight, he would be on an 8-fight winning streak. There's not a lot of high level victories there, but still, an 8-fight winning streak is nothing to overlook. But
no, in
I
the
don't know if he'll
UFC,
do
it's
that. But
incredible. You know,
yeah,
but
that's a lot of KOs.
What's Movsar's like streak right now? Isn't he like pretty
So
crazy too?
I was just looking at this, and to be honest, it wasn't as impressive as I initially thought. And you guys, before we jump in your bets, we'll take a look at this. So he's 19-0 as a pro. But look, since joining the UFC, take a look at the resume here, because I don't think it actually runs that deep as you would think. He had a victory over Sang-Woo Choi to be 1-0. Enrique Barzola, we know he left the UFC and he had some success outside of it. But what's that? 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 9-0. So 9-0. So Garcia almost has a
Right
similar
there,
type of winning streak
he's
going
right
on.
there.
I mean, you have Diego Lopez, Arnold Allen, Sterling. I mean, there's some bigger names going on here, but I wouldn't say that the resume is necessarily crazy. Mike Grundy, Nick Lenz, Hakeem Dawodu. I don't know. I think he's just a little bit overhyped in that sense, and a lot of it probably starts with just the absolute dominance that he puts out there at times, because he is a nasty grappler.
Yeah, he's
And
freakishly
let's,
strong.
yeah, Sasha, let's jump into it. What are you betting here for this one?
Man, like I've hung out with Lerone before. I think he's such a dope ass dude. Like I want him to win like so badly, but Movsar is just such a freak, bro. Like you know, and his style. I mean, and you know, a lot of people hate his style, but he also does strike pretty nicely too. Like he throws good kicks. He's got decent boxing, and he sets it up well to get to his takedowns, which is his bread and butter. You know, um, I think I think it's not going to go. I don't think there's going to be a finish. I obviously think there is some upside, obviously because we have someone like Murphy fighting, and he obviously coming off of his last performance. It's always in 5 rounds, like there is a chance. But I think Movsar gets it done. I think, and I think he's gonna get it done by a decision. Um, I think he's gonna, I think I got it at -120. But I think Movsar is gonna fight a boring fight. Maybe there'll be a moment where Lerone hurts him in a round or something, wobbles him, gets the crowd going crazy. But yeah, I just think Movsar is just gonna keep scooping him up. And I mean, bro, if you've watched Lerone Murphy's career, when he fought, what was his name? I think he was like the Swedish prince or something. That
Oh,
Amor,
Marwa
yes,
Arkwani.
Marquani, yeah, and that dude was like super heavy wrestler. I remember going into that fight, I put a pretty big chunk on Murphy, and when Amir came out and just fucked him basically for a round, I was like, oh god. But then he got that separation in the second round with that knee and put him to sleep. So there's a very high chance that he could get a finish as well. But I think Movsar is going to get it done, and I think he's going to get it done in boring fashion, unfortunately for everyone involved. So I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
go with
lock
the
you in.
decision.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
lock you in there. I was just taking a peek at it at -115. It's on
Okay.
FanDuel at -115 for Movsar to win the fight via decision. He doesn't find that finish, and if you take a look, he is 19-0. 12 of those victories for Movsar come by way of decision. 12 of them. A dozen of those coming by way of decision. He's a little bit of a decisionator there.
Does he have any finishes in the UFC?
So Movsar inside the UFC, we see decision,
I don't think so.
decision. Nope, nope, nope. You got it. Well, you know what? Interestingly enough, his last finish was in the 5th round over an M1, and it was his most previous fight before joining the UFC. Yeah. So no finishes inside the octagon. He did have a submission against Sergey Morozov, right? A former UFC fighter there, but prior to that as well. So he had a couple finishes before coming in, and then since joining the UFC, he just looks to go out there and just do what he needs to do to get that hand raised via decision. But I don't know. So, Jason, we'll go to you. What do you think here?
Nah, man, look, I think obviously the big thing about Lerone is his biggest weakness throughout his career has been the takedown defense. And obviously, Movsar is probably one of the, I actually don't think his takedowns are that amazing. I just think his control is really good. If he gets you down, it's going to be very hard for you to get up. So Lerone has not shown me the best takedown defense. Even against Aaron Pico, who's more well-rounded, he was getting taken down. Marquani, he was getting taken down, but the problem with Marquani, which I don't think the parallel is the same with Movsar, is that Marquani slows down. He has a terrible gas tank, and he's kind of slowing down against Lerone, and then Murphy ended up KOing him with that knee. So unless he gets a knockout or his takedown defense has dramatically increased, and especially his get-ups have gotten better, which they look to be okay. He got up against Pico. I just think Mosar's at a different level at that point. So I think he's gonna get the takedown. He's gonna wear out Murphy, and he's gonna coast to a decision. Can he get a finish? For sure, I think Murphy can get a KO if he catches him, but obviously you're betting on a completely different thing. So I'm with Sasha, man. Give me Movsar Evloev by decision -115.
Okay, we'll lock you in with that same one there. So kind of expecting a little bit more, another snooze fest. Crowd probably won't be excited about the fight playing out like that. And Doug, you in agreement here, or you see this fight going a different way?
Nah, get this fight out of my face. It's gonna be probably gonna be the most boring fight on the card. Like, both these guys are super high level, but like not finishers. This fight's going to a decision. I'm on Movsar's side, but it is in London. Funky things can happen sometimes. If it's a boring fight and Lerone's able to get some damage in, maybe he ekes out a split decision in London. But either way, this fight is going to the judges' scorecards, -225. I'd bet it probably up to -1,000 that this fight's going to the scorecards. So, yeah, not much to say here. I'm on the Evloev side. Let's also pump the brake on Steve Garcia. He's not fighting for the title. Max.
Yeah. There's not a lot of other names that throw out there. So just for entertainment purposes, because besides that,
I know, but the top of that division is very, very crowded, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be one of these guys, but Aljo's fighting Yusuf. There's a John Silva. John Silva's fighting for the title next.
it'd be Silva. I could see that being more realistic as well.
I forget if it was Jason or Sasha who said it, but if this is a boring ass fight and it's 50-45 Movsar, they could very well skip him again, and maybe if Steve Garcia goes out and knocks out Diego to open up that White House card, maybe he skips the line. But we need to see. Let's pump the brakes on Steve Garcia for a little bit.
Hey, take it easy on my boy Steve there. All right, man. All right, so that wraps up all of our the competition aspect of the show, man. You guys are all locked in. We're going to see who wins after the card's said and done. We'll calculate all the odds. We'll post graphics on Instagram, here on YouTube. We've been running, an hour and 15 minutes. I guess one thing I just wanted to throw out there before we wrap up, quick thoughts on a newly added fight to that whatever you want to call it, the promotion outside the UFC.
MVP.
Is that what it's called? What is it?
MVP Promotions. That's
MVP
the new organization.
Okay,
on Netflix.
On Netflix. And we got Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. I just want to get some of your guys' thoughts on that fight. And some of the early opening odds that I've seen. You see Mike Perry opening up, and I think we probably will see some rapid movement leading up to that fight. But we see Perry as a slight favorite. I think he was around a -135. Diaz around a +105, give or take, whatever it is there. What do you guys think about that fight?
I mean, I wish this fight was many, many years ago. I mean, we're getting this fight, both of them way out of their prime. They both recently lost to Jake Paul, right? So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. I don't know, man.
Jake Paul's literally their daddy. Like, let's be honest.
Now they're fighting on his promotion. It's kind of crazy, man, how the tables have turned. But hey, look, credit to Jake Paul, man. He deserves everything he's worked for. He's killed it. But them two fighting, who knows, man? If someone bets on that, good luck. I have no idea who's gonna win. I mean, to me, it's not a fight that I would put any coin on, because both these guys are. I mean, well, Mike Perry has fought in bare knuckle fighting, so maybe I would lean on him just because he's been fighting in a stand-up professional aspect versus Nate Diaz, who's probably just training jiu-jitsu and smoking weed and hanging out. I don't know, honestly. So I'm not too excited to watch out. What I'm more excited about is that maybe John Jones might go to Netflix and maybe fight Ngannou or someone like that, because there's supposedly rumors that he's not done fighting and that that negotiation actually fell out, and maybe Netflix can get him some money and he'll go fight a guy in the heavyweight division over there.
What's the word on that, though, as far as the contract goes? Because I find it hard to believe the UFC.
There's no way UFC are going to release him out of his contract just out of spite alone.
John and Connor will never not be under
Yeah. They will have their images forever. But no, I mean, they got. I mean, when they announced Rousey and Corona, I was just like, what a joke, you know. And then, and I'm not a big women's MMA guy, and washed up females who haven't fought in I don't know how long, and they're just out there talking all this shit. Okay, the UFC made you Ronda Rousey, so for her to go out there, I understand they're creating something for the fighters, which is awesome, you know. And then Nate Diaz and Perry, I just another terrible fight. I've always thought Mike Perry is terrible. I don't know why he's such a big draw in America. Terrible fighter, not a smart guy. Um, Not even like yeah, he's fought some good fights, been in wars, but like just not a good fighter. Nate deserves the love he has. At least he's like fought at the top line, like the best of the best, and he's put on wars for the fans. He deserves that credit. In terms of who's gonna win the fight, honestly, geez, I don't know. I don't think Mike Perry's gonna have the gas tank to do MMA rounds. And I come from this experience. I stopped doing MMA, went straight into striking sports only, trained specifically for striking sports, and then when I would come back into MMA, it was the worst day ever. It's tough. It's a lot on the body, as you guys know. So I just don't think Mike Perry's going to have the gas tank. I think Nate's always just going to be there. And I think if I had to put money on it, I would say Nate Diaz gets his hand raised, especially if he's an underdog. With most likely like Perry's not a kicker. Perry's not a grappler. The last time he called out Cerrone and got his arm broken. So he's not the sharpest tool, So he's usually going to play the game that I think will best suit Nate. And if he gets tired, I think Nate can possibly do something, grab a neck, choke him out. I think he's got more ways to win. So if I was to put money on it, I would probably go with Nate. And I'm a bigger fan of Nate anyway, so why not?
Yeah, if Nate can maybe go to his jiu-jitsu. And Sasha, you're like making a comparison there, a fighter taking a step away from the overall MMA aspect. You think back to like the Teller when he was in his early 20s, hitting the bars up for a couple of weeks, and then I make a return to the gym and my coach throws some shin pads, some gloves on, has me sparring, and I'm crawling to the door throwing up on the in front of the gym. You know what I mean? It could be brutal.
Nothing worse. There's nothing worse than coming back from a layoff back into MMA. It's where you get injured. That's where you it's tough, man. If you're not in it, like it's just tough, and it'll be tough for Nate too. Nate's not fucking doing it. So it's like it's an equal playing field for them in that regard. But I just think and there's just one thing for me when I come back from a long layoff and I start training, I never gas when it comes to striking. It's just something that I've been doing since I was a kid. It's just something that I know how to regulate my energy. But as soon as I start squeezing and grabbing fools, like I'm gassed, bro. My shit's filled up. So, Nate has that jujitsu, he has that background. So I just feel like he just has more avenues to win, That's just my opinion. Don't get me wrong, Perry could sleep him finally. Who knows? But I've just never rated Perry. I'm just a hater, I guess. My boy D-Rod beat the shit out of him.
That's right.
And it was just
where is D-Rod? What the fuck is going on with
D-Rod?
We'll talk offline.
Yeah, we'll talk offline. Yeah, I'll fill you guys in offline.
One point
But he's good.
Okay,
He's good.
One point I want to bring up, I think, and I fall victim to this a lot too. Just a point that Sasha made, and I'm going to take the opposite point of view. And we all have our points of views. I think that Ronda made the UFC, and the fact she's the second biggest star that the UFC's ever had. I mean, especially when she went to WWE. I mean, the fact of the matter is that and outside of the bubble that we live in, if you talk to just the casual sports fan, it's 10-1 they're going to watch the Ronda thing over the White House card. Like I think we fall prey to this this bubble that we live in, and we're disappointed with the White House card. But at the end of the day, Ronda Rousey made the UFC. I view it a little bit differently in the fact that we don't have her, we don't have John, we don't have Connor on this card. You just pay them whatever they want. And what MVP is doing, they don't care. They're making these fights. And yes, Sasha, I agree with you 100%. Horrible fights. But it's going to be a spectacle, and people
it's going to get more numbers than UFC will ever get.
but like tenfold. And
More.
and they're I do think that Jake Paul, regardless of what you think of him, this might be the first opportunity where there's a vehicle to create some competition for the UFC where they don't have to have rankings and they don't have to have belts. They're just going to put on fights that people want to see.
Entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I just it's crazy that we are seeing all these fights happen outside of the UFC. So.
Did you guys get word or see some there were some fake announcements or potential matchups? And I saw two that piqued my interest. We got Gable Stevenson.
I saw that one. That was fake, right?
When I think so. When I saw that, I was like, no way, amazing.
Against JDS, right?
Yes, yes. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's gonna be a murder for JDS. Like, that's so unfair for him. But I know he needs to
A
get
murder,
paid.
Sasha. Just to be clear, a murder in the sense that JDS would massacre Gable. You were saying,
No,
or
no,
the
no,
opposite
no,
way?
no,
Okay.
no, no.
Yeah, I wanted to
Gable's gonna take him
clarify.
down within 3 seconds, and JDS is not getting back up. Like,
Yeah.
that's what's gonna happen. Same thing, bro. JDS has never been a grappler, and I know he ain't grappling now. So if that were fight to happen, it'd be a bad day. And then I saw Mohamed Mokaev.
Against
I've-
Mighty Mouse, but Mighty Mouse shot
Yes,
that down, I
he's
think.
retired. Yes, but
Yeah.
it would be great to see someone like Mohamed Mokaev fight on a place like that. I mean, that guy's a very talented fighter. He gets a lot of hate based on his behind the scenes behavior. From what I heard, he's not the best guy, but in terms of his fighting capabilities, and he's a top guy. It'd be cool to bring him in.
I agree with you. I think Muhammad he's trying to get back into the UFC, and I think if you fight on this MVP card, that door is probably closed. You're never gonna
Yeah,
fight it.
yeah, that is also a smart business decision to stay away from as well. If you want to
I'll
get
say
back,
this, man. Like the UFC is kind of vulnerable right now because their streaming with credentials been so terrible. Like I haven't had one UFC card where I didn't have a problem. The voices are off. The screen blacks out. Like the one thing Netflix does have is they have a lot of money. So if they really want to start paying these guys and really make some type of a comparable promotion, hey, look, the door is open right now. I think so. We'll see what happens.
no,
Yeah,
that's the whole transition that I noticed now with UFC going to Paramount. They said, you know what, we don't give a fuck. We're getting that contract for the next 7 years. Forget it. We monopolize everything. And now I think maybe if they could go back in hindsight and just kind of see the transition from being a sport on ESPN, which is like the premier of sports in the United States and the world, and now you're on like an offshoot where that shows South Park and some other random ass stuff. So I understand they're trying to also grow their brand, but bro, anytime that you're going to be airing on Netflix, the whole world will see you. They don't have to subscribe to anything. Everyone has Netflix. So that's like a huge win for Jake Paul. This that partnership with the boxing, as much of a clown show it is, it's created this network that they love it. They're getting the numbers, they're getting the viewership. Who knows? Maybe they can add some kind of tier to their system now where you do get the boxing fights, you do get the MMA fights, and people will pay that extra $2-3 with the amount of numbers that they have on their platform. It's gonna, like you said, tenfold, maybe even 100-fold what the UFC has and their potential. Because look, they're not receiving pay-per-view anymore. So they got paid. So now Paramount's like, fuck, changes everything with MVP. And it's interesting. It gives us a conversation, and it's going to be great for the fighters. Hopefully people are going to be starting to get paid more. And it's just going to create
That's what it's all about, right? And like,
100%.
yeah.
When Conor Ben is getting $15 million for one fight, no one in America can tell you who the fuck that guy is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope
But
Conor
you're not
Ben
going to
gets
give that
more
kind of money to John Jones. You're not going to give $30 million to John Jones.
That's what I'm saying. If Conor Ben is worth 15 million, then Conor McGregor is worth 150 million.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
it's almost a slap in the face to say that he's not.
but
I mean, it is.
there's also, just to play devil's advocate, that Conor Ben contract is being funded by the Saudis. I mean, the Saudi money is just everywhere right now.
Infinite. It's infinite. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, but it's still.
So is the UFC's
doesn't
money.
matter it doesn't matter where the money's coming from when you've been in the UFC for 5 years and you're fighting for 75 or whatever it is, and you're like, oh man, come on.
Bro, I mean, what? I think 13% of revenue goes to the fighters, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just up it to 25%, it's going to change a lot of people's lives. You know, it's not going to take any money out of people's pockets. It's going to make the product better. More
Yeah.
professionalism. Like, you get these guys that are coming in, like you said, I think we mentioned in the beginning of the show, coming in, making their debuts, and looking like they should have never even been on the Contender Series. The level of product, because they have to put out a show every week, has just gotten disgustingly low. It's like, you know, when we used to watch Bellator prelims, it was like watching an amateur regional show, you know? So they have to understand that you have to treat your fighters like the gladiators they are of today. You know, you got to give them the money that they can do everything that needs to be done to be a professional, you know, not work two jobs, not, you know, do this as a hobby. I fought professionally as a hobby. I was fortunate that I was able to support my lifestyle with the stuff that I did outside of sports, but I did this pure out of for fun and passion, and I made some money. It was great, cool, but not a lot of guys can do that. And there's a lot of talented guys that don't have that opportunity, so they got to pay them. They got to give them the incentive to make that money. Coming in on 12-12 is it's tough to live on, you know. Especially when you put, you know, as you guys know, the amount of work you got to put in to get to that level. It ain't worth 24 grand. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Right now, I mean, as far as in recent memory, I can't remember a time where I felt like there is a bigger opportunity for another promotion to come in and start to take a little momentum away from the UFC. You know, if you were to like say that to me 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever, I mean, I felt like the UFC was untouchable the way that they're
Yeah.
moving. But like right now, I feel like this conversation is a lot more realistic than it's been in recent memory. So,
Yeah, star
yeah.
star power is fading in the UFC. They need that McGregor. They need that Ronda Rousey. They don't have that at the moment. Their biggest
Yeah.
stars don't speak English, and that's a huge
Hmm.
problem as well. And when that happens, especially with an American company, it's hard to reach out to the American fan base. You know, how are they going to
Yeah.
relate to someone who Alex Pereira who just says trauma all the time, right? It's you can't relate to that. So it will take time, but we're going to also be able to make money and capitalize on a lot of give me fights for American fighters, guys. I have information, I guess, that you know that others don't have, but backroom conversations are all about whatever they can do to bring an American star to the forefront in the UFC. No matter who they are, women, men, whatever they can do, they're going to push that. So with that in mind, you know, think of that, you know, betting forward.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
interesting, right? Yeah, that's an interesting aspect to it.
you
But it's
know.
very true. I mean, they need to step it up as far as
Yeah, when
pushing
you said
USA fighters.
when we saw the fake Gable news, I thought initially, I'm like,
He's
oh,
the
this.
one.
I was
He's
like,
the
well, I was
he's the
like,
horse.
they have to be. There has to be stuff going on behind the scenes. Like,
Bro, but
yeah,
think about it. Think about it. Like coming to negotiate with Gable is going to be like negotiating with a title, a
John Jones.
championship fight. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to probably have one of the biggest contracts debuting in the UFC, my guess, if
Well,
they're
what do you think
smart.
he was already being paid when he was with the WWE, even for a short period of time? I mean, I don't know. I'm sure he was making some pretty good money there, even with that. I
the
don't know.
entry the entry level contracts aren't crazy in WWE. They bring you in to kind of assess, and then if you like pass the assessment period, then they give you bigger money. But even the base contracts in WWE aren't as crazy as you think. Six
Okay.
figures, yes. Six figures, yes, but like it's a very demanding and hard schedule with the WWE. You're traveling nonstop every single week. You're barely at home. You're basically like a roadie, you know.
Yeah.
So like I guess that wasn't something that necessarily appealed to him, and also they said that his personality wasn't what they were looking for. He's an athlete, you know what I mean, and he's perfect for MMA. And you know his background as a wrestler, as an Olympic gold medalist, it's just like the perfect recipe to come in and take over a division that is so goddamn weak that he could probably do it with like two torn ACLs and win easily. You know, I just genuinely don't see anyone giving that guy problems. So just give him all the money and let him fly the American flag, and everyone's gonna love him. You know, that's how I see it.
Especially when you
Um,
take into consideration how old he is, because he's young too, right? Especially for the heavyweight division. I mean, he's
he's
extremely
25,
young.
right? He's like
25.
25.
He could own that division for over a decade. I mean, he could be a huge superstar here in the States. I mean, he could just be known as, I mean, he could go on to be the greatest heavyweight of all time if he really wants to dedicate himself to that. Obviously, he needs to round out his skills and show us a lot more, but what a base he has. I mean, he has the best base you could have.
100%. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I see, and he's right. He's training with the right people. He's a freak, bro. You just see the way he moves. It's just not normal for that weight.
Yeah.
And then anyone in that division, the only guy that I think kind of matches him, but like 25% slower, is Aspinall, in the way that Aspinall moves with his striking. But outside of that, I just don't see. Just it's crazy how quickly he gets to a single leg. It blows my mind. And then he jumps out of a ring. Just
Yeah.
in the
Like
dirty
a freak.
boxing. Like it's just freak. He's a
Yeah.
freak.
Yeah.
And I think it's only a matter of time, bro. Because the UFC struggling, so they better pay him. Like that. That's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to sign a big exclusive contract, maybe the biggest one that they're going to announce and make a big deal out of. And I think they're going to put everything around Gable Stevenson. Honestly, if there's a way to
And if
bet that, I would.
yeah, and if they didn't, I'm sure there is. What's that one book out there? You could bet on all kinds of wild stuff. Who knows? Maybe they throw something like that up there. You
we
see
should
these
we
new
should see
books.
what the line
Yeah.
is. Gable Stevenson to be a UFC champion.
Yeah.
I think if the UFC wants to fix themselves, they have to just change the rules to help benefit stand-up fighters. If they really want to eliminate the wrestling, allow for knees on the ground, like completely, like back in Pride days. You can elbow
Yeah,
in the back of the
one
head.
championship. Yeah,
I
one
mean, if
championship.
they do stuff like that where you kick a down opponent, the game changes completely. I don't know why. I think it's probably for safety reasons. They don't want all these fighters to get knocked out completely all the time. Like they want to keep kind of like football. They want their players to be around for the long run, especially if they're good. But if they want to stop all the Dagestani wrestlers from dominating, in my personal opinion, they gotta change the rules because the rule set right now benefits wrestlers for sure.
100%. 100%. I
But,
agree with
but
you on that. I've been saying it for years. I've been saying the same thing.
but
I'm like,
Jason,
you got to let us.
when you say that rule set would kind of help knock them down a notch, but wouldn't you also think it would still help them in a way, but maybe they would have more entertaining performances, right? Because I could still see them using their wrestling to dominate, but then when they're on top position, they're going to be smashing knees into the opponent's head down there. So at least maybe they're
yeah, not only that, but like the simple fact that like let's say Islam can just put his head on the side of his hip, put his knee down, and the guy can't elbow him in his back or the back. I know there's like people can die from getting elbowed in the back of the head, but there has to be some give and go. Like you can't just have your all fours and then the guy can't kick you in the head. Like in a street fight, I can kick you in the head. If you're on your back, I can knee you. I think it will prevent people from just hanging out on the floor, just chilling, because they can either get a finish or they can get finished. So you just need more danger in the fight, but maybe there's a health reason. Like maybe the regulation or the regulators won't allow that because it's too dangerous. But I don't
100%.
want people to die.
100%. I think there's no athletic committee martial arts athletic committee in the United States that allow kicking to a downed opponent, but and that's a whole thing. I've looked into the sanctioning bodies, and it's like a monopoly as well. That's why you can only go to certain states to do bare knuckle competition, because they only allow it for whatever reason, and you have to get through their sanction body to get it. But in terms of in Asia, where they allow everything, you don't see guys control, like they have tons of Daggies and Russians coming into one, and they even against Asian fighters, where usually in the past where they would hold them down and get a boring decision, but now you're seeing Asian fighters throwing knees off their back. They're throwing all kinds of stuff, and it's creating space to create scramble. Like you can literally hold on to someone and win a fight body to body and do nothing, right? Look at Kamza. Like in reality, there were positions where he could have unloaded, right? He could have taken the risk to give DDP an opportunity to get out, right? Because he's going off and trying to load on him. But when you don't fight that way, their chance to get up is like almost zero. So with that opportunity to do that kind of stuff, it opens up the fight, in my opinion, and it gives the wrestler less chance to hold you down and more of a chance to get up. Bro, there's nothing worse. I've been in guard just trying to like gather my thoughts, and I'm just getting elbowed on the top of my head. Like it's fucking sucks, So it's like if you can create that for the guy who's just trying to hold you, I think a win for everyone. Like people want to see that. We've seen fights where the guy's holding the other person down and he's elbowing, throwing backhands. None of that's really good, but it's scoring, it's landing. The other guy's just holding. Like, how can the guy win the fight? You know what I mean? So I agree there has to be a change in the rule set and also the way they judge fights. They're starting to do it better. They're starting to reward the grappling side like what they did to Volkov and Almeida. Like if you're a boring ass fighter and you're just holding on and you're doing absolutely nothing, if that fool throws 5 strikes that land, he won the fucking round.
Yeah.
Get
We
up and
definitely have
hit the
seen more of
fool.
that
You can't
recently
just
for
lay
sure.
there. You know, it pisses me off as a fucking fan. I'm like, hit him, punch him, stop holding him, do fight. You know, like fuck are you doing, dude? No one's gonna like you. No one's gonna watch you fight. Like, understand that. So
Well,
that's my rant.
circling that back to the main event, man. The main event of UFC London, Movsar Evloev. You know, we're gonna see what he looks to do out there. If he looks to just go that boring route, or if he gets some some insight from the back. I mean, I don't know what kind of conversations go on in the back. I know that Dana and UFC don't necessarily like to push certain things on fighters, but maybe they hint like, hey, you got to go out there and you got to entertain. If you want that title shot, you got to bring a little something to the table. I don't know if they have those types of conversations, but maybe they sneak that to a manager or something like that. I don't know. But we'll see what he does. We'll see what he does when he goes out there. But I think we all kind of were predicting that fight to be.
I mean, he knows by now that he's like known as a boring ass fighter. So if anything, hopefully that'll open him up a little bit to be a little bit more exciting. But I mean, off the Sterling fight, Sterling's not the most exciting guy either, right? So
no, he's
it's
not.
it's tough. When you're kind of made the way you are, it's hard to get out. And when you get out of your comfort zone, that's when you get hurt. You're gonna play it safe. You got to win. It's gonna be a boring decision.
True. That's true too. Yeah,
You
man.
know?
All right, well, guys, we've been rolling for hour and 40 minutes. Unless there's anything else you guys could think of, I definitely want to shout you guys all out, man. Everyone that's watching, before we get out of here, let everyone know where they can find you guys on Instagram or wherever you guys are at.
Yeah, I mean, I can start first. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, at the Lock Talk, Instagram, YouTube. I'm over there, so give me a message, and I'm more than happy to chat with you guys on anything, man. But thank you so much for being here, man, for allowing me to be here, man. It was a really great conversation.
Yeah, man, and we'll see how you do. You're in your debut, your bout here. We'll see how you do. Regardless, man, I hope you'll come back on. You know what I mean? And Sasha's been here with us. This is the 4th time he's been here with us. Sasha, where can they find you?
Yeah, Sasha Palatnikov, MMA. One of a kind name, so you'll find me on all socials. Just type that shit in. I got a question here. When am I getting back in the octagon? Unfortunately, I'm dealing with some pain in the ass injuries at the moment. I need to go get an MRI. So I'm kind of on the sidelines right now. I've been working. I was working on a comeback and then kind of got derailed at the start of this year. So it's a bit of a setback, but everything happens for a reason. So I'm just kind of trying to get back and see where we go from there. But yeah, otherwise just staying a fan of the game and just being busy on that side with my business and everything else. But yeah, appreciate you again, Dorian, bringing me on. And I have fun. Like this conversation right here, we're all like-minded individuals talking about the stuff that we enjoy doing on a weekly basis. So it's nothing better than getting like-minded people, and it's always fun anytime I come on.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I always appreciate you having you on. But we got to get you on one of those the Netflix cards. That's what we got to do, man. We got to get you on one of those Netflix.
Hey, I'll fight Mike Perry any day of the week.
Yeah, let's get that. Oh yeah. And then Doug, what's up with you, man?
Yeah,
Your IG and all that.
Doug fights on socials, and then can always check out all the stuff I do at Sports Illustrated, si.com/MMA, SI's YouTube channel. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, go give these guys a follow, man. They got great content, and we'll definitely see these guys back on the show. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. And again, we will have the results posted here. You guys could always keep up with me here on the YouTube channel and on IG at MMA Fortune Teller. I will always post the results, and we got the records and all that moving forward. And we'll see if the Golden Goose, Doug, can remain undefeated.
Doug's the champ. The triple champ, right?
The triple champ. We got Alex Pereira's looking to replicate what you're doing out here, Doug. So you gotta respect it.
Yeah, but his will be interim. Mine are undisputed.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
I'll leave you guys with that. That's how we're ending this. All right.